Yeah. What's good with y'all? Looks like everything good to go. Hey, what's good with y'all, man? This is Thawahgabar for Black Authentic Truth in the building. Yes, I'm very late, but I'm here. All right, I'm here. Just gonna start off. How is everyone's Sunday going? Mine is it's one of those sluggish days. You know, I wasn't really like into it. I wasn't really feeling it. Like a little sore from yesterday. Um, yeah, but I'm here though. You know what I mean? And a shout out to my rib, Kyle Maz. She encouraged me to do the live because I was like, you know what? You know, I'm not really feeling it today. And I did have some topics. I did have some things I wanted to talk about, but you know, um, you know how life can be sometimes, you know. Um, yeah, but how is everyone doing? Shout out to you, Martina. Shout out to Renee for being up in here as always. So while people respond, what I want to do is just go over what I'm going to talk about. I'm talk about an African woman speaking on slavery. Uh, what else we got? We got, you know, you can prefer your own people. You know, it's nothing wrong with loving your own people. So there's a couple clips. These clips are dealing with these topics, and also why is the Christian church segregated? All right, in general, the Christian church is segregated. So I'll touch on all of those topics, and then just remind me. Let me just. Maybe I should write this down, but I want to do a little quiz. I was on the streets yesterday asking questions, just testing people's Black history with some of the most basic historical figures, and just see if they knew them or not. And that was kind of fun. That was kind of cool. So I'll do that at the end of this live, just to test the knowledge. Yeah. So I'm gonna get right into my topics. All right. Excuse me. Let me see. Put this phone up. Get right into these topics. We ain't gonna waste no time. I know it's a little later on the East Coast, so you know, I want to get this squared away. And let me just edit this real quick on the title, because this is episode 95. Episode 95. All right. Now, let me get this clip. So we'll go with this one first.
Are you serious? Or are you
100%?
Let me start that over. Y'all let me know if the stream is coming through clear. Is we good? Are we Tawab in the stream on y'all end?
Yeah, I am racist.
which means good. I said
Are you
Tawab.
serious? Or are you?
100%.
I'm sorry. I said Tawab, which is good in Hebrew, right? So I'll just wait till somebody drop something in the chat and then we'll go on. Move on. This is a very interesting clip too. Let me see. I can see too. I can look. I think my sound is. For you. Oh yeah, we good. We good to go. We good to go. We good to go. Let me get into this first clip. Maybe I should share it. So this first clip, let me play it.
Yeah, I am racist.
Are you serious? Or are you?
100%.
So you just don't like white people as a whole?
No, I don't. I grew up in the South. I live in North Carolina, and it's just like the worst thing to be, really.
Isn't it? Should we be judging people based on the content of their character and
Yeah.
not the color of their skin?
No, you need the color of skin is very important.
It is important.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why I'm talking to people about this, you guys, really quick. By the way, do you agree with her?
Yes, she does. I have a black son. I don't want my son to come home with no white woman.
She said, I am racist. The sister straight off said, you know what? I'm racist and I'm judging by skin color. I don't know if anybody caught that. Let me rewind this real quick.
Yeah, I am racist.
Are you serious? Or are you?
100%.
So you just don't like white people as a whole?
No, I don't. I grew up in the South. I live in North Carolina, and it's just like the worst thing to be, really.
Isn't it?
You see how her homegirl look? Her homegirl look like, what? Well, I don't know if I agree all the way with that. Homegirl was like, damn, I'm on camera too?
Isn't it? Should we be judging people based on the content of their character and
Yeah.
not the color of their skin?
No, you need the color of skin is very important.
It is important.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why I'm talking to people about this, you guys, really quick. By the way, do you agree with her?
Yes, she does. I have a black son. I don't want my son to come home with no white woman. At all. He know better.
Do you tell him that?
Yes.
How old's your son?
21.
And he's not allowed to date.
He could date who he want, but they can't come in my house, and I'm not gonna have no parts of it. I don't want no mixed babies. I want a black baby grandchild. That's what I want.
Yeah.
But other people could do whatever they want to do.
Really quick, do you mind if I one more question? The reason why I'm asking this question is because there's a recent poll that was released, and it asked that question: do you agree or disagree with that statement? It is okay to be white? Only 53% of Black Americans said yes to that poll. Does that surprise you or no?
No. Black people are really racist.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
You seem to disagree with her.
I feel like it's not okay to be racist,
It is okay to be racist.
but white people have made it where it's so easy to be racist. White people has put that foundation down, and it's just normal.
I'm scared of it. I don't care.
Are you scared of me?
Yeah, I am racist.
So what the sister was saying, I understand what they're saying. And she said, listen, I'm from the South. And she said she based it on skin color, right? Not the content of the character. Well, the thing about it is that word racism has changed the definition. The definition has changed over time. And Black people are not necessarily racist. Black people are aware. And like the second sister said, she said, it's not okay to be racist, quote unquote, but white people have made it easy to be racist. They have made it easy to look at them in a different manner, right? Here's the thing. when it comes to how I think about or what I believe about white people in the history with my people, I'm not looking at the color of white people. I'm looking at the actions. The actions is what make me say, I will refrain from going here. I will refrain from doing that. And I will profile a certain type of white person, not because they're white though. It's because the history of mass shootings, it's the history of slavery, it's the history of racial bigotry and prejudice. That's why. See, when it comes to the word racism is a word that embodies power. It embodies, like, black people don't have the power to be racist. But, like, remember what I said, the definition of the word racist has changed. They've made the definition so that you just saying something like, I prefer for my children to be with black people. Now, white people will say that's racist, when in reality, that's a God-given right and that's natural across the world. Except here in America, people start looking at you, especially they look at black people crazy when we say, you know, you come online and say, I love black women. And they look at you crazy because you're professing that you love black women. And they're like, well, why you don't love all women? You know what I'm saying? So they look at you like you racist, but in reality, racism is the inherited superiority of one race over another and having the power to actually affect the lives of another group of people, which in turn, black people have never had that power. Black people could feel however they want to feel, but black people don't have the power to deny you access to health care. Black people don't have the power to deny white people access to a job. We don't have the power to actually affect anyone's life. All we could do is say what we don't like. And that's racism. But real, true racism is being able to not only have the bigotry and the prejudice towards one group, but have the power to put them in jail, have the power to lock them up for 20 years and to come out that they never did the crime. You see what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with what these sisters are saying as far as what they're trying to say. And the sister is blunt about it. Really, what she's trying to say is, I don't trust white people. I prefer my people. Now, when you look at, let's just say, who's in America? You got black people, you got white people, you have East Indian, you have Arabs, you have Ukrainians, you have Armenians, you have all type of people in America. And you can see right away that when these people are here in America, they, in general, prefer their people first. Like, they're dealing with their people, they're hiring their people. That's where, they move around, they'll move in the same neighborhood around each other. And, that's never considered racism. Nobody is looking at Chinese people because they only hire Chinese as like, you're a racist. Nobody's looking at the Arabs or anybody like that. They prefer to be around their people. They prefer to marry their people. And that's a God-given right. You know what I mean? And this video really illustrates, number one, how we don't know, like, people in general no longer have an understanding of what real racism is. And number two, that it's okay to only love your people. When I say I only love black people, I'm not saying that, when I go out in public, that when I see a white person, I'm, tipping my nose up to them and thinking I'm better than them. No, I go out into the world and I deal with all people. I talk to all people. I communicate. I go to work. I do business with all type of races. But my loyalty, my team, is my people. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that. It is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, that's how the world works. You see, you have America, you have China, you have Russia. All of these people are enemies, right? But then they come at the negotiating table with suits and ties on and shake hands and do business. Meanwhile, they don't like each other's cultures. They could care less for each other. But in order to do business and survive and build their nations, they are diplomatic and they come and sit down and do business together. That's how that's okay. That's okay. You know what I'm saying? They point, like Russia got missiles pointed at America. America got missiles pointing them. North Korea got, but they have diplomats that go and sit down and have peace talks and shake hands. They go to the United Nations and sit around with all the leaders and shake hands. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, these people will go to war at, for nothing. So the point I'm making is like, man, like, you have to look at the content of people's character. Like they say that a lot. They push that a lot. And me being a Hebrew Israelite, they say, well, you know what? You guys are hateful because you talk about all of these things that white people done to black people. And I said, well, y'all promote Martin Luther King, judge somebody by the content of their character. It's not because you are blonde hair and blue eyes. You can be purple, you can be green. I'm looking at the things that you do. I'm looking at your actions. I'm not looking at you like, oh, this white man. You just happen to be white. You just happen to be Caucasian. You could be orange. Well, Donald Trump is orange. Well, you could be green. You could be purple. You could be yellow. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the actions of the people. It has to do with the historical atrocities of one group of people. It's not about the color of the skin, but America is built off of colorism. And colorism is even within black people. We even have colorism against each other, dark skin, light skin. So, I don't have no problem with anyone, but when I look at the crimes and I look at what I should be looking out for, I'm looking at your actions. What this sister was saying is nothing wrong with it. She just doesn't understand that the word she wants to use is that she prefers, the phrase she would rather say is, I prefer my people. Not that I'm racist against anyone, because black people don't have the power with their racism to change anything or to, stop a white person from eating and feeding their family and getting a job or going to a higher education. Black people don't have that power. But what black people do have is the ability to see from history and how they were treated. Like she said, I'm from the South, and it's so bad. We do have the ability to say, you know what? I'm going to start putting the energy that I put into loving everyone else into loving my people. And I'm going to refrain from that. And I'm going to encourage my children to love their people. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What y'all think about it? Tyrell said, we even label color more than any other country. Yeah. Even in ancient times, color was not a thing. You know how you have black, white? It never was a thing. That only came about during the Renaissance, where, white people started to classify themselves and classify black, white, Negroid, Mongoloid. In ancient times, man, you were what your identity was, because believe it or not, the whole earth was dark skinned or melanated group of people. You know what I'm saying? So when you're looking at Caucasians, you're looking at the children of Esau or Edom. They are a young people. They're only about 3,000 years old. And that's just facts. They just came out with the scientific study that said that, people today as Europeans, as white people, they're only about 3,000 years old. That's when they, came into being. And we know through the process of them being born, they were born from a black man and black woman. You know what I mean? And so with knowing that knowledge, everybody on the continent was black. I'm sorry, the world was black. You know what I mean? At one point in time. And so the idea of black, white, this, that never was a thing in ancient times. It was just like you're children of Ishmael, you're Arab, you're Israelites. You know what I'm saying? You're Moabites, you're this, you're Hamites. You know what I mean? Different families of Africans, you know what I'm saying? Mizraim, the Egyptians. Today, you can look at Africa and you can see the different families and peoples in that region. And so that's what it was. It was never like, the type of colorism that we have today in today's world. Today's world has just separated black, white. You know what I mean? Okay, black, white, and brown. It never was that. No one even cared about that to say, man, look at this white dude, look at this black dude. No one even cared about that. That came into being and, us getting here through the transatlantic slave trade and all of that. That's when that became a thing. Yes, very different customs. Says Judah, the neck of our enemy, Judah in the neck of our enemy in the land of confusion, Babel, aka Babylon, to divide and conquer. Right, man. Like, it's just crazy. And it's a lot of confusion when it comes to understanding, like, especially with this generation, no one understands like racism. They always calling somebody racist. Like I said earlier, if we used to say, like, listen, I prefer to only be with black women, they'd be like, that's racist. They're like, what? How was that racist? Do you even know what racism really is? Like, I don't think you really know what racism really means. You know what I mean? That what that is called is a preference. That's why I'm preferring my people, my kind. I'm preferring, to be with someone that looks like me, that understands me, that comes from the same roots and struggle as me. It should be nothing wrong with that. But that ideology of the big melting pot, that ideology really, really hurt us. That ideology of, we're mixing and we're mingling. That's what we should do in America. You should just do your thing. That really weakened us as a people. It really weakened our people. And any other group would agree with that. You see, the other nations are very strict on their peoples as far as mixing with other people. Other races are very strict. You see, Asian people are very strict about that. You see, white people are very strict about that. You see, all these different people are strict about their children marrying into other people. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because this happened a lot in America. From the inception of America, it has happened a lot. But what I'm saying is, in general, like in the big picture, usually people don't do that. Usually they don't. You know what I mean? We was in Hollywood yesterday, and you'll see a black woman with an Asian man. You'll see that type of stuff you don't never really see. Now, I grew up, every now and then you see black man with a white woman with a black man, vice versa. But that was that's different out there. LA, you get out there in LA and it's just like all type of, people coming together and buying into that melting pot ideology. You know what I mean? And that really, really weakened us as a people. And I'm gonna go into some more. Some of the clips I'm gonna go into speaks more to that. Tyrell said, I feel being the minority compared to other African descendants also has an effect on us, on top of losing our history and slave Jim Crow. That definitely has an effect on us. It has a different effect on us. But what it also does is show you how special we are as a people and how resilient. I'm sure people have heard this, how resilient Black people are, and the strength that we have to go through all of that stuff and then come up out of it and still be here. Because I'm pretty sure, like, had it been another group of people, they wouldn't be here. They would have already buckled and probably would be extinct, just to be honest with you. But there's a strength in Black people that is definitely supernatural. Definitely supernatural. We're definitely walking superheroes. Black men and Black women are walking superheroes. So let me get to this next clip. All right. Play this next clip.
Is his biggest.
Let me just rewind this.
All right, real quick. What's your guys' biggest ick in a girl?
White.
White? Oh, okay. Nice. What kind of girls do you like at school?
I got a girl, so I
You got a girlfriend? What is she? She not white? What is she?
Latina.
Latina? Nice. He likes Latina ladies. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
And that's exactly what I just said. That's exactly what I just said. Now, before I get into it now, you see how they dress. Let me now look at these two bimbos, half naked, and you're going to interview kids about women, about relationships. Like, why would you go interview kids about relationships and ask them dumb questions? She said, what is your biggest ick about girls? And he said, white. You know, kids and young people say the darndest things. Remember that it was that old show where with I think it was Bill Cosby used to bring kids and they used to say crazy stuff, right? Get their opinion on stuff. Well, I'm sure she wasn't expecting that. So his biggest ick or no or pet peeve is that the girl be white. Then she asked him what type of girls do he like. He said he got a girlfriend, but he like girls that look like him, girls that he can identify with, girls that grew up from the same roots and the same struggle as him, which what I just said makes total sense. And it's, that's something that everybody does. But you know what I mean? Wait, Black Rain said, harlot's trap. Right. Like, you're getting a lot of people going on the streets asking dumb questions, but these are questions they should have been asking adult people. They should be approaching adult people. That's why I call them two bimbos, because they don't know no better. And this is the age where everybody is trying to get big on the internet and monetize and have big platforms and go viral. So everybody is trying all type of things without even really thinking it through. These are straight kids. And you asking them about relationships. But he said what it was. And what he said is what I had just explained, that, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, somebody else would see this and say, that Mexican kid is racist because he don't like white women, or a white girl in this case. He's a boy, so he got a Mexican girlfriend. And they would say he's racist. But look at this. If I heard a white woman say, I only desire to be with white men, I would have no issue with that. I'm attracted to black women, black and brown women. I don't have no issue with anybody from another race saying that they love their people and they prefer to be with them. Listen, go ahead, do your thing. Power to you. I don't have no issue with that. But when you flip it, they have an issue with us if we say we only love our kind. You should love your kind. You should. That's your God-given right. That's why God created you. If God wanted us, if the Most High wanted us to be with everybody and mix with everybody, well, what was the point then giving us, different types of people? What was the point in making different nations unique? I mean, shouldn't he have just made one race of people? Right? Shouldn't it just been just one human? No variety, no differences, no different hair colors, no different eye colors, no different strengths and weaknesses, just human, just the same. One species of human being. Think about that. That's the beauty in the creation, is that you got all of these different groups of people that, you know, have their ways and their customs and their gods. You know what I mean? Not my business, because I'm not trying to, you know, serve their gods, and I'm not trying to be with their women. I'm trying to be with the women that God created for me. Right. Me too. I believe all cultures should love their people and you know, respect the ways of their culture, of their people. Yeah, but yeah, I just want to go in on that. Like, you know, shout out to the young boy. He said he was blunt with it. He said, listen, that's my biggest ick, is, you know, a white girl. I like my people. And also, the solution to stuff like this is, first of all, put some clothes on. Second of all, go talk to adults. Go ask adults relationship questions. Don't go around asking children relationship questions, you bimbo. Let me get to this next clip. Now, this is so I'm gonna do this. I got two more clips for y'all. This one I'm gonna do this one first. So this is the one about, I asked the question, why is the church segregated? Remember, the church is built off of the religion of Christianity, which preaches brotherly love and everybody being brothers if they believe in Christ. Everybody being one if they confess Christ is the only savior and all of that. In a nutshell, right? So why is it that the Christian church is segregated in general? Now, I know there's some churches that that are multicultural churches that have diversity, different groups, different people there. I understand that. But in general, when you look at the way that you have Black people that worship and you have white people that worship, you have a multitude of Black churches and you have a gazillion multitude of white churches. If it's all supposed to be one, then why is it segregated? Let me get this clip real quick.
That white evangelicals consistently, over the years, have put their whiteness above Christlikeness. No, it's not true of every white evangelical, but history shows it's true of the majority.
So he's talking about white evangelicals that put their whiteness above, as he says, Christ likeness. I think that I went over that term, that phrase last week when we talked about, it was a video with a white man that was just saying that Black people were chosen, and he was saying how white people don't believe in Christ, right? They're not Christ-like. But this is a question that has been posed with, I believe, this Black man. He must be an evangelical. He must be, you know, in the church. So one thing I can say, and I'm going back in history, we all know that the religion of Christianity came through the plantation. That's how Black people received the religion of Christianity. Now, we know Christianity also was in parts of Africa, in Asia Minor, before it ever got to America. Okay, so keep that in perspective. Now, on the plantation, Black people learned their form of worshiping God from white people. And there was a dilemma back in the days. There's a book called The Negro Structure, right? And it's a volume of books. I can't remember the author's name. He was from Europe anyway. Well, during this time, they wanted to do an assessment. The United States government wanted to, learn more about Black people and the structure of Black people and the problems that were within the Black community. So because of the racism, they didn't hire white people from America. They got white people from Europe to come and observe Black people, the caste system, the structure, the church, and things of that nature. How Black people and white people coexisted, things like that. And so what was found out is that there was a problem in the church because the white Southern pastor, or should I say, before I say that, they seen really no difference between the Southern churches and the Northern churches as far as the segregation issue. Because the problem was that Black people would go to white churches, but the preachers started to understand that if more and more Black people start coming to the churches, then more and more white people would leave the church. And Black people didn't have a lot of money. And so the white people had the money. So you know, church is a business. Church is a business. And so if money ain't coming in, blessings ain't coming out. Salakia, but the church is a business. I think most people is hip to that now. And so they started to see like this is a problem because these Black people are supposed, you know, our theology says that these Black people are brothers and sisters in Christ. But if they start coming to the church and they start joining our church, then our loyal members, white members that put money into the church, they're going to leave the church. And so, you know, we can't have that. We got to juggle this thing. And so that was a dilemma in the 1940s. That's what was observed in the Christian church. Another thing about the church, and I'm a sidebar a little bit. Another thing about the Black Christian church, you see when you go to, well, I don't know if anybody that watches me goes to church, but the videos you see Black people, you know, running up and down the church pews, the aisleways, you know, dancing, shaking, shucking and jiving, falling out, just doing all type of theatrics, very high in emotionalism. Well, that emotionalism comes from the 1920 revival era, where white people will, you know, have these revivals in these tents. They have church like that. And so the whole time, Black folks have observed white folks and how they worshiped God. And so that was transmitted to Black people. So what you're seeing in the Black Christian church, all of that extra emotionalism, that comes from the white church. That comes from Black people seeing how white people worship God, which, newsflash, none of that stuff is in the Bible. All of that hooping and hollering and all of that crazy stuff, all of that dancing. Nowadays, Black people be doing the latest hip hop dance, praise dance. You know what I'm saying? But none of that is even in the Bible. But our people learned that from white people. And I know it's not a surprise. Because most of the things that we do, the structure that and how we live, and even that conversation about what a man should be doing and what a woman should be doing today comes from observing white people and how they live their lives. And I'll go into that too. Definitely, Tyrell, false doctrine. So we followed those false doctrines. So the answer to even this guy of why white people that profess to be Christ-like don't really want to be around Black people, and why the church is segregated, is because Black people have been following the blueprint, or should I say not following the blueprint, but it's because the history has always been there of the segregation, even in the beginning of the church. That's why it is the way it is to this day. And it also shows you that that same religion has no power to bring anybody together. That same religion was the religion that this country is built on. Christianity. This country is built on the blood of Native American Indians, the blood of the Negroes, the blood of the Mexicans, the blood of the Puerto Ricans. This country is built on that. So how could that be of God? You get what I'm saying? So it makes you understand this is why you have separation in the church, because people can do whatever they want to do in Christianity in the name of Christ and then say, blessed be the Lord, blessed be God. You can go and massacre a people and take their land and say, blessed be God. You could say that you believe in Christ, and you can say, okay, you can say that, you know, you follow those tenets of Christianity, that religion, that man-made religion, which says everybody is your brother. But then when they come into your church, you don't want them there. That's what he's talking about, the separation. So I'm trying to help anybody that might be wondering what's going on. That it's because, first of all, Christianity is not something that is even in the Bible. It's a religion. So, yeah, they read scriptures and they do things, you know, and they go read from the Old Testament sometimes and stuff like that, but it's not really what's in there. Okay. And so it's a fake theology that produces none of the things that it says it's going to produce. So you'll never see a time where black and white people are together in one church. I'm saying in general. I'm not, I know you have churches where, you know, people are, it's a diverse church, but what I'm saying is usually in the hood, if I go to any of these churches around where I stay, they're all black churches. Ain't no white person walking up in there. And even in the same area, there are all white churches where it's just white members. That's it. But if it really was of God, would it be segregated? Would it be segregated like Jim Crow? White faucet, black faucet? I mean, that's not what they profess. That's not what they singing and praising about in them churches. Another thing, what they would do is, in order to like, what is the word? In order to promote more integration in the church back in those times, a black pastor would have a white pastor come to his church to preach a sermon. But it never went the other way. So the white pastor could come and preach to, you know, black congregants, but it never was the other way where the black pastor goes and preaches to an all white crowd. They even had racism in serving God. They even showed their racism in serving God. So if you're a black person that's in that, well, you're in the wrong belief system anyway. You're in the wrong belief system anyway. But anyway, I'm done with that. What y'all think about that? So let me get this. I'm gonna get this other clip, this last clip, all right, with this African woman.
Is for Black Americans. I feel that I have to explain, certainly just for me, not for other Africans, but I feel like I have to explain to you. Because I consider myself to be fairly educated, and I was educated in Kenya. And the education system in Kenya is fundamentally flawed, okay? So when we learned history, the history that I learned, there was a tiny, like a little segment about slave trade. And it wasn't even clear what the slave trade was. All I know was it was mentioned, and I was like, who were these slaves? I don't know who the slaves were. It's not clear. And of course, it's on purpose. So the things that I learned in history was about the Great Boer Trek. That's right. The Great Boer Trek. I had to memorize that shit, okay? Now, I remember watching programs, American programs, and we were so confused because we didn't know why you were speaking, like things like Good Times and all those programs, but I didn't know why black people were speaking like that. So we were asking our dads, why are those people speaking like that? We did not know. We did not understand. And when did I start to understand the history of the slave trade? Is many years later, and I'm still learning. So I found a book actually called Black and British, and that book is the most comprehensive account of the slave trade. And it recounts, what happens in the South and the bringing of slaves and everything to America. But the thing that was very poignant for me was going to Zanzibar and learning about something called the whipping post. And this is where the slaves used to be whipped to break them, basically. Now, I was in America years ago, and I did not understand Black Americans. And I actually wrote a whole show about this called African in New York. And I talk about this because I did not understand Black Americans, because I thought that you had a burden, but I didn't understand what the burden was. Because
She said she didn't understand Black Americans. And she said, I thought that you had a burden, but I didn't understand what the burden was. That's kind of deep. She's seen something with Black American. Now, this is a African woman from Kenya, and she first expressed how their public school, their system, education system is trash. She also said they didn't learn a lot, but they used to look at television and see Black Americans on television and wonder why we talk the way we talk. Now she's talking about being, then she also talked about the whipping post, where they would put us on whipping posts in order to break us. Then she talked about being in New York and seeing that there was some type of burden on us, but she couldn't tell what it was. Okay, let me keep going.
we are still there's a fog for us Africans, so that we don't know a great deal about Black Americans. And I thought about it for a very long time, trying to understand the situation. And it's on purpose that we should know the suffering that you went through. Our country's education system is suppressed by colonizers, so we do not know about the journey of Black Americans. And I've been learning about this journey. I was reading the book by Malcolm X, and I was like, wow, my God. For us Africans, a lot of what you guys went through is just crazy. Not that Africans did not go through shit. We went through a lot of shit through the Europeans, but they keep us ignorant of each other's suffering for the purpose of misunderstanding each other. Fundamentally, I know that Black Americans have lived through a very hostile environment and fundamentally come through on the other side. And I just wanted to say, I feel your pain. I feel your pain because I have understood you. But this is a journey I've been on because my own parents were actually in a concentration camp in Kenya.
She said that she came to understand that Black people have come up in a hostile environment. That's Black people coming up in America in a hostile environment, and that she feels the pain of Black people in America. Let me keep going.
You see what's happening in Gaza now? That was my tribe in Kenya. My mother spent 8 years from the age of 8 until she was 16. She was in a concentration camp being systematically starved, as you're seeing in Gaza. So it's not that we did not go through shit, but I just wanted to say, I acknowledge you, Black Americans.
Now, she's speaking from her perspective and how they are miseducated and they really don't know about the transatlantic slave trade or about the things that Black Americans went through once here in America at the hands of white people. And as she's learning this, she's like, wow, like, dang, like, I understand you now. I feel your pain, because she expressed that her mother was in a concentration camp out there in Kenya. And what I want to speak about is that what she's saying, first of all, I just want to give her a shout out. You know, I don't consider Black Americans, we're not, you know, Africans per se. She's in East Africa, right? We're not them per se, right? And I believe that's where Barack Obama came from. But it's very rare to find people that are not Black American to acknowledge the crimes and atrocities of the past. Usually what happens is they say Black Americans complain too much. Black Americans, you know, you're always whining and complaining. Typically, they mirror the same thing that Caucasian people say in America whenever we talk about the atrocities of the past, right? What she's saying is true. That's her truth. And I will say a lot of Black Americans don't know their history, don't know, you know, all of the things that we went through, don't know that right now in 2025, the stuff that you are yapping about, whether it be about 50-50 or what a man should be doing or this and that, is a product of what happened to your people. You are a living example in your dysfunction, in your identity crisis of what literally happened to your people, right? A lot of Black people don't know history. And I would say, well, I always say this when I talk about the dynamic between West Africans and the fact that Black people, or the people that came in the transatlantic slave trade, were sold by people who were culturally and ethnically different from them. Doesn't mean that we were all Black, right? But when you ask people, and I've talked to Africans, and when you ask them, there's many Africans that do know about the transatlantic slave trade, and they do know that it was their ancestors who sold other peoples. And then you have some Africans that don't know, on even on the west coast of Africa. She's, you know, she's not on the west coast of Africa, but there's a lack of knowledge on both sides. There's a lack of historical context on both sides. I will say that. Now I'm gonna play this video, and I just want to say once again, shout out to her for expressing that. You know, that is something that is rarely seen from other groups, to express how they've learned about what our people have went through, and they can identify and understand, right? And that they see us. You know what I mean? You can't do nothing but respect something like that. So let me get this video. Now, this is a tribal leader from Ghana some years back. And then I'll wrap it up with this.
Very privileged to be with you, particularly our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and the diaspora. And people from all over Africa, our brothers and sisters from all over Africa.
So you have some different tribe members, different people from all of Africa, and you have some people from the Caribbean, along with, I think, a few Black Americans in this group.
I wish at this point to particularly to apologize deeply on behalf of the chiefs and people of Gold Coast and Ghana.
He said, I want to apologize on behalf of the Gold Coast, the chiefs and peoples of the Gold Coast and Ghana. You see, what we tend to neglect, and let me play a little bit more.
for the atrocities, the cruelty, the inhuman treatment that were committed 400 years ago by my ancestors.
By my ancestors. The atrocities, the treatment that was committed 400 years ago by my ancestors. He's apologizing for his ancestors selling another group of people, Black people, in the transatlantic slave trade. These were not his people. You understand? But this is the thing that is very real when it comes to what we perceive about the transatlantic slave trade. Let me change this up real quick. So what we perceive in the transatlantic slave trade and what we look at as Black Americans is the white man, right? So we say we were kidnapped. We were kidnapped. White people come and took us, brought us to, the Caribbean, brought us to America, gave us Christianity, treated us wrong and bad. The white man. Nobody ever says or never thinks and says there was a buyer and a seller. No one never thinks about that. But there's been African governments that have apologized for their role in slavery. These people were not the same people. You don't sell your relatives and your friends and your loved ones and your community to foreigners, pale faces. There's history to show that there were Black people considered to be Israelites in West Africa all the way down to Luango, all the way down to the Congo, that were despised by the native Africans. You would have to despise a people to go and round them up, go fight them, take prisoners of war, walk them back to the shores, and sell them to white men that you're negotiating with. That's what really happened. That's what's in the historical record. But we don't know that. We're ignorant of these facts. We're ignorant of this stuff. I just showed you an African tribal leader apologizing for the role of his ancestors and selling your ancestors here. Is anybody mad at that? No, we're just mad at the white man. We're just blaming the white man. Not saying that when it comes to the transatlantic slave trade, everybody gets their fair share of blame. We're just speaking about the transatlantic slave trade. That's one thing. But when we get over here, you can compound that and add on to that. Those atrocities. The hardcore bondage, the lynchings, the burnings, the burning of cities and towns, the Jim Crow era, the racial prejudice and bigotry and hatefulness. You can you know what I'm saying? Like, so, okay, yeah, that those Africans that sold us, they got a rap sheet. But then, when you look at the Europeans, they got a rap sheet for the slavery, but you could just compound all of that other stuff. And then, their stuff is stacked up. Their stuff is stacked. You know what I mean? It's stacked up high. So they don't get off the hook for what they done. But I'm just opening your eyes to show you that it was more players in that. And the other players in that were melanated or a dark race just like you, but they were not you. They were not you. Newsflash, we are not all the same. I say this all the time. And that's another topic for another day, but I really want to get into this thing where people be like, the slave trade never happened. We were already here, meaning Black people were already here in America. And I've been seeing that a lot. And I want to tackle that. I'm gonna get on that, trust and believe. But Uh Kamal said they should apologize by doing to their own people what they did to our people. Sell them for booze and white women. Ooh, that's a sharp hitter. There's also documentation that shows that it was no wars. Well, I already said that. Okay, you had European nations and companies fighting each other for where they could post up at on the shore on the Ivory Coast in order to get slaves. So they was competing. And then I do believe you had like one or two nations, I believe it might be in the Congo, where the king would not allow none of his subjects to be sold to Europeans. But there are memoirs, there's histories of Europeans literally sitting down and negotiating with African tribal leaders, sitting down at the negotiating table, and many African tribal leaders got super rich. In fact, like I was about to say, that there is documentation to show that many of the things that they were getting from the Europeans, like as far as different type of spices and things of that nature, it was stuff that they already had. So it wasn't like they had a super need for it, but it was just in order to appease themselves and live in opulence and be super rich. That's all it was, right? And they were willing to do that to another group of people. In fact, in the book Race and Americanization, it tells you the companies that were there working, and I've read this book on here before, and it also tells you that the Bambara was a group of people that were sold, right? But there was a strong they did not allow certain peoples to be sold. So they were very strict on who could be sold and who could not be sold. So they protected their people and their tribes. You see, when a white man is coming, he sees dark-skinned people. Like white people, like they really look at anybody dark as the same. They just blanket term you and say African. They don't say, oh, he's from Fulani tribe, he's from this tribe, he's from that. That's not how it works. Even today, they just look at you like you're just the same. Like they looked at Barack Obama like he was one of us when he was not one of us. But it doesn't matter. They treated him, they look at him like that. They made those racist caricatures of him like a monkey. They looked at him like he was a black man just because he's melanated when he's not he's not us. He never was us. Now his wife is us. Michelle Obama, yes, she's a nigga, but Barack Obama is not, And so yeah, it's a lot that goes into this. It's a lot that needs to be broken down. The main thing is that I started off with this African sister that said she did not know all of the things that happened to black people. And they didn't learn about those atrocities. And that also that, some Africans don't know the history, but some do. And I showed you one that does know in West Africa and apologized for the role of his ancestors in selling our ancestors in the transatlantic slave trade. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up, but I remembered, y'all. I remembered. So I got a little quiz. We're going to do a little quiz. We're going to test your might. I'm going to test your historic, where you at in history. All right. So yesterday I was on the streets. I was doing this with people, and I'm going to try to start doing this a little more, like just see if you can tell me who these people are. It's pretty easy. It's lightweight, right? It's lightweight. So we're going to start with, let me see. Can we get it on screen? Oh man, it's too high. Let me see. Maybe I can do something so y'all can see. Give me 1 second. See if I can change this camera. All right, let me see. I'm gonna change the lighting on the camera. Maybe I can make it so you can see it. Maybe I can put it up closer. No. Okay, let me lower it. 1 second, y'all. Almost. Nah, it ain't gonna work. Ain't that dope though how I did that? I'm gonna get up close to the camera. I'm gonna get up close. Y'all give me a second. I'm gonna get up close and I'm gonna get up close and then I'm gonna look at the screen and see who guessed. Now let's get this over here. Y'all should be able to hear me, right? Let me see. Maybe I should turn this down, huh? 1 second. All right. So it don't look like it's gonna work. So what I'm gonna do is, it don't look like it's gonna work. So what I'm gonna do is, y'all just give me a second. I'm gonna put them on the screen. I don't know. It's too bright or something. Let me get it real quick. I can put them on screen. Where we at? Yeah. So I was on the streets yesterday and I was asking brothers and sisters, do they know who these people are? And had a few people that knew them all until the last one. That's the thing. I make it to where you pretty much should know. You get to that last one, you get stuck. Okay. Here we are. So I'm gonna pull the first one up. Let me see. Okay, there we go. Let me move this to add to the. Who is this? That's what I was trying to show y'all. If you know who it is, put it in the chat. If you know who it is, put it in the chat. It ain't no wrong or right answer. Listen, Deandra said it's Sojourner Truth. No, it's not. It's not. And you know what? I use this picture. It's someone you know, but she's younger. Okay, Harriet Tubman. That's who it is. That's who it is, Kalmaz. Kalmaz, I think you cheating though. Ron Coleman, Harriet Tubman. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, it was another brother, Chicago. That's right. It was another brother that it was a brother. I'm sorry, it was a brother yesterday. He said the same thing. He was like Sojourner Truth. So I went and looked. I was like, well, I mean, he not wrong because, I mean, I understand why he said that because it's some similarity there. All right, let me get the next one. Let's see. Everybody should know this, though. Everybody should know who this is. If you don't, if I actually had somebody that didn't know who it was, but out, and you know, when I was outside, but if you don't know who this is, you probably need to go back to school. Well, you know what? They didn't teach this in school. That like he wasn't a part. He wasn't a part of that. You know, that Black History stuff. Like, there's certain people that are not a part of Black History Month, right? Chicago. There's certain people that are not a part of Black History Month. They like, you know, they America is like, nope, nope, can't put him, nope, you ain't finna put these Negroes, you ain't finna rile them up. You are not finna rile them up. Right. I forgot who I asked. I asked someone, oh, that was my son. I was like, you don't know? Oh, you know what? I'm tripping. My son didn't know who he was. It's funny though. It's funny because um he's, you know, my son used one of my videos for a Black History report. He looked at the video and used it on Famous Amos. And he used it and the teacher was like, wow, like I've never heard of him. I never knew that he created those cookies. So when I asked him that, I was like, and the first thing I thought when he said he don't know who Malcolm X is, I said, well, I thought in my head, like, you need to see the movie. Because that's how I was introduced to Malcolm X. I was introduced through the movie, you know. It was like, dang, which, you know, Denzel Washington played, you know, an amazing part in there. He killed it, right? Let me get. So yesterday, somebody said, they told me this is Willie Mays. Who is it? It's not Willie Mays. All right. Okay, Chicago. Okay. All right. This is Barata now. Okay. All right. I see y'all on. You know, it's funny. You'll be surprised how many people don't be knowing who people are. You know what I mean? Like, it's very surprising. Like, you know, people just don't know. Like, you'd be like, man, this is like basics. This is the basics. Hold on. Let me get one. Let me get. There's another one. I got to get it offline. We'll see if y'all know this person. Give me 1 second. Okay. Now, yeah, that movie was definitely really good. It was well done. It was well done by Spike Lee, and who looked at who said Tyler Perry's movies is coonery buffoonery. All right, let me get this other one, y'all. 1 second. All right, who's this? Who is this? Who are we looking at, y'all? Seem like y'all thinking, or y'all typing. He said, "You cheat." Maya, that's right, T Mingo. Yep, got me there. All right. Yep, Maya Angelou. What was that song? I mean, a song. She's a poet. She did poetry, right? What was the one? It was something like "I am a woman" or something like that. Y'all remember? I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm not that sharp with nothing with history. It was some poem she had. Is it phenomenal woman or something like that? I ain't a woman. Okay. Yeah. I remember a little bit, a little bit, tiny bit. Yeah, shout out to Maya Angelou. She was a pioneer. Okay, I got one for y'all. Yeah. Y'all ain't gonna know this one. Well, maybe somebody might know. Not all of y'all though. I'm gonna get y'all with this one. Okay, it's Phenomenal Woman. Okay. Yeah, I'm finna get y'all with this one. Y'all think y'all tough. Think you smart. Yeah, who's this? T Mingo. Right. Okay. That's why I said I didn't think nobody was gonna know who that was. Oh my goodness, Deandra. Now this is Medgar Evers, right? Medgar Evers was a civil rights activist. He was actually Medgar Evers was unalive. He was a civil rights activist during the civil rights movement. He was unalive, I think, driving down a road. He was with, I believe, two white men, and the Ku Klux Klan murdered him. Right? Yeah, this is Medgar Evers. Okay. Let me get this other one. All right. Yeah. Hmm. You see, back then they didn't even care. He was with even being with a white person wouldn't save your life back then. You know what I mean? They look at their own people as traitors for even being with you, or even standing with you. All right, I'm gonna got probably like two more. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody should know who this is. Right? Everybody should know who this is. Only because he's somebody that they put in, the Black History celebrations. Like I said, certain people are not put in the Black History celebrations. They like, no, we do not want an uprising. That's right, Ron Coleman. That's right. Frederick Douglass. And I had a couple people yesterday look at this picture for a long time, like, I know him. I just can't think of his name. And then I had a lady that she was looking at it and she was like, put out her phone. She pulled out her phone in order to I thought she was going to do that thing where you take a picture of something and it tells you what it is, but she had in her albums, I guess her brother was an artist and he draws pictures, and he had drew a picture of Frederick Douglass, this actual portrait, and it looked realistic as hell. I was like, oh man, he's He's an excellent artist. But she pulled it up in order to remember his name. Still was cheating though, but you know what I mean? I was like, it ain't no wrong answer. You know, even if you know who it is and you forgot, it's just like being, you know, refreshed in a review on who it is. Now, this one is the one I brought out in the video. Okay. I know a lot of y'all ain't gonna know this unless you've been watching Black Authentic Truth. Okay. Let me see. Yeah. Let me see. Let me look. Let me look. Let me see. Nobody? You said, does she have a beauty school? No, this is not her. That's Annie. Are you talking about Annie Turnbull Malone? No, this is not Madam CJ Walker. T Mingle said, I don't know. Yes, yes, I got y'all. I got you. Renee said, Gwendolyn, don't know the last name. No, I got you, Negroes. I got you. I got you. Yes and no, you spelled her name wrong. I see what you're saying. Okay, this is, and let me see if I can get some more pictures. Hold on one second. This is, I'm gonna get some more pictures of her before I say who she is. Let me get some more pictures of the sister. She deserves her her recognition. So just give me a second. I'm gonna put something together real quick. There's a one. There's another picture. Well, we can't use that. Y'all just bear with me. Let me. Almost there. Almost there. If I can just. I call this woman an angel in the twilight. I'll tell you why. Let me see. Okay, now let's go here. Let's see if we can open this. Oh, man. Okay, no sweat. So now, this is Maud Callan. Maud Callan, she was from South Carolina. She grew up. Let me see. Let me change this real quick. So Maud Callan grew up in South Carolina. She went to nursing school, and with her skills that she learned, instead of going to work at a hospital, what she did was she took those skills, and there was this place called Monk's Corner, or Monk's Corner, Monck. Monk's Corner. It was deep in the rural area, and in Monk's Corner lived people who were descendants of slaves who had no cars, and they could only travel by horse and buggy. And the closest hospitals were miles away. And so what she would do is she would drive her car. She could only drive her car halfway there because there was no roads, and it was muddy and rugged terrain. And then she would walk the rest of the way through the forest to get to this community. Maud Collin is known, well, she taught 400 women to be midwives, women that help deliver, babies. And she brought medicine, and you know, she was a therapist to the people. She brought clothing for the children and food and all of those things. So, you know, she was a woman that seen the plight of her people, and with the skills that she had acquired, she went and helped those people who otherwise would have been forgotten about, right? And there was a famous let me see, there in Time magazine, a reporter heard about her, and he went to go see her and how she worked and the things she did. And this was one of the famous pictures from that time, where her right here delivering a baby. Okay. um Let me see, there's some more pictures, let me pull them up. I didn't plan this. So this picture is of her trekking to get to the people. You see, it's wood, it's mud, it's muddy, water puddles, and she would do this every day to go to Monk's Corner to help these Black folks in need. So yeah, that's her. I can't share that one. So yeah, that's Ma Collin. Let's clap it up for the sister. All right. Clap it up for her. Ma Collin. We really need people like that, no matter what the profession is, to gain those skills that they've gained, and that blessing that they've got to go to higher education and learn something like dentistry, or like with her, nursing, and come and help their people. That's a real beautiful thing. Even if it's law enforcement or being in the military, there are skills that Black people acquire, high level skills that their people could benefit from, but you got to have the heart to do it. you know you got to have the heart to do it. And she is a pioneer. She is one of those pioneers. um and I'm sure those people, when they seen her, they just lit up. There's another famous picture. Let me just get this last picture, right? It's such a moving picture. Get this last one. Hmm. It's her. It's a picture of her um, comforting an older gentleman. Okay, get that. Well, we'll just leave that. Now this is an actual image out of the magazine. Let's see. Where we at? So this is an actual image out of the Time Life magazine book that was magazine that was that put her on the center spotlight. Also, what I forgot to say, because of this segment in the magazine, what ended up happening is donations poured in. Like I think it was like $50,000 poured in from all across the country because people got to see her and what she was doing, and with the money that she got, she was able to open up a clinic in even all the way to her old age. She would do things like, as a senior citizen, like drive and deliver meals to other senior citizens. One more. I'm just gonna get one more and then we're done. Okay, this is it. Excuse me. Okay. This is the last picture, y'all, and then move this. All right, one more, and then we're screen share window. So this one, so let's see if I can get it. So with this one, this is an image of the sister, and it said that the elderly man is so moved by the compassion, he's moved to tears, and you can see her comforting this elderly man. So she was truly, an angel. You know what I mean? Truly an angel. The type of women that we need amongst our people. Type of women and men that we need. That could care for something more than yourself. Anyway, y'all, I'm going to be wrapping it up. I thank y'all for everybody that's been up in here. I went late, so and always, I was already on panic mode because of that, because I was going late. Usually I don't go this late, but I appreciate everybody, brothers and sisters, that came in here and rocked it out with me. And let me give y'all some shout outs before I get up out of here. Martina, always rock with me. Renee, Tyrell, Sister Barata Nawa, Black Rain Theo 3, my main man. Ron Coleman, always rocking with me. I appreciate you. T Mingo, who always rocking with me. Appreciate you. Deandra, I appreciate you, always rocking with me. Trooper Shakat, always there, always rocking. Appreciate you. Did I say Renee? I think I did say Renee. If I didn't, I don't want to Kalmaz Boff was rocking with me. I don't want to forget anyone, because everybody was participating and stuff. Everybody was really in here. Yeah, man. So yeah, with that, y'all, thank y'all for rocking with me. I'll be back again. I'll be posting videos throughout the week. Also, what I want to say is if you find something, if you see something that you might want me to break down, a video or something or a clip like that, just shoot it to me on Thawahgabar Gmail. It's at the bottom of the screen. Shoot it to me and I'll go over it. All right. So with that, y'all have a good evening. Stay out of the way. This is Black Authentic Truth. Peace. you.